Chapter 3. Mr. Gu. This time, the other person on the blind date was a sweet-tempered girl. Guyan nodded to her, and then he sat down. He kept intentionally glancing over at the dining hall entrance, but he still didn't see Qiushi, who usually made a noisy grand entrance. Without her to annoy them in this public place, this time his blind date had become so boring that he was about to doze off. As he observed the other person's polite smile, and as he discussed appropriate topics with her, Guyan thought Qiushi was right. This type of girl doesn't suit me. His life was already depressing, so his other counterpart ought to be a bit more lively like Qiushi. He suddenly realized that he was now accustomed to Qiushi both accompanying him and pestering him. When he didn't see her occasionally, he would start to miss her. Guyan's train of thought slowly floated far away. What had that girl gone off to do today? Why had she missed her appointment? She wouldn't have met some troubles along the way, right? When he thought thus far, he suddenly became extremely worried. I am so sorry. Guyan suddenly got up. I have some last-minute matters to take care of, so I'll leave first. Without caring about the girl's stunned expression, Guyan grabbed his jacket and left anxiously. Qiushi was the last person to know about her mother's plan to remarry. The day before the marriage, Mother Qiu had called her and told her about her upcoming remarriage in bits and pieces. Qiushi had not received an invitation card. Because the bridegroom's side of the family had little money, the bridegroom's children worried that Qiushi would think they were people who wanted their part of the profits, so they did not want to contact her at all. She understood her mother's embarrassment and took the initiative to say she would not be going to the ceremony. On the day of her mother's remarriage, Qiushi stood outside the hotel where it was being held, looking up at the red word happy that stands for marriage. In the end, she left silently. At the formal dinner that night with her department, Qiushi didn't pay attention and got herself drunk. Her colleagues told her that they would send her home, but Qiushi wouldn't go home with any of them no matter what. She got a taxi and left, not to go to the house she rented, but to return to the company instead. When she got out of the taxi, Guyan also just happened to have gotten there amid his search for her. He saw Qiushi stagger into the big building and stopped his car. Looking through the car window, he silently watched her movements. Usually, Qiushi did not like to wear high heels, but since it was a work requirement she had no way around it. At the moment she was drunk, so now her guard was down, and anyone could see the true her. She walked 3 steps and then turned a corner and took 2 more steps. When she was going up the flight of stairs, she tripped and practically fell flat on her face. Guyan felt this was hilarious. However, seeing that she hadn't gotten up after it had been a long time, he was worried that she had injured herself. He quickly opened the car door and walked towards Qiushi. Yet, who would have guessed that before he had gotten into the building, Qiushi would turn over and lie on the stairs laughing foolishly. At first, she felt she was very hilarious, but eventually, the corners of her mouth drew back in a sad arc. Her hoarse laughs, accompanied by her unsightly smile, made one feel indescribably sad. In Guyan's eyes, Qiushi had always been a simple, direct, and a bit unreasonable little girl. When she was face to face with him, she had always met him with a smile so wonderful that even Guyan could not deny its warmth. Thus, he would never have thought that this face that had smiled so purely before would be full of such a contradictory expression. From a distance, he could smell the scent of pungent alcohol. Guyan frowned. He stepped forward and patted Qiuxi's cheek. How much did you drink? Qiushi showed him 2 fingers and her fingers shook. Guyan sneered. You only drank 2 bottles of beer before you became this drunk. Wow. Qiushi knit her brows and corrected him, unsatisfied. It was white wine. In due course, Guyan stopped talking. He grabbed Qiushi to help her up, and asked, do you still remember where you live? Qiushi thought about it for a long time. I know where I live. She spoke loudly. My dad has a house, my mom has a house, but I can't live in any of those places. When he heard this, Guyan was silently surprised. He had always thought she lived in a very happy household. He thought she had such fearless guts because she had the protection of her parents, even going as far as to brave any dangers to pursue her boss. Where would you like to live? Gu-yan rephrased his question. She thought silently for a long time. I would like to live at Uncle Yan's place. Gu-yan immediately frowned. I'll send you to a hotel. She grinned and laughed. I knew Uncle Yan definitely wouldn't let me live in his house. He doesn't like me. She grabbed Gu-yan's hand as if she was telling him, you listen to me, and I'll talk properly for you. But I like him, very 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 very. She kept repeating the word very as if there weren't enough words to express her feelings. Gu-yan watched her reddened, abnormal face caused by intoxication, and for the first time, he faced this girl's feelings that came from her mouth. He asked, why? I don't know why either. She said, I've liked him for 6 years, so maybe it's all become a habit by now. Gu-yan was stumped for words, his entire mind completely unable to remember when he had attracted this lady 6 years previously. 6 years ago, she was probably only 16 years old. I read all of the books he read before, I listened to all of his lectures, I did what he did in the past. I do not know whether this is respect, admiration, or love, but I know I like him. I just like him. He found that his heart had been thrown into chaos by these crude words. Looking at the girl in his embrace whose eyes were already about to close, Gu-yan helplessly acknowledged, his vanity had been shamefully satisfied. End of chapter 3.